Welcome back, fight fans, to another episode of Ringside. Today I would like to discuss the potential opponents for Canelo in the future and where his career might go after his win over Berlanga and after the most recent events of the light heavyweight undisputed clash between Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. Firstly, let's look at the top 10 and top 15 super middleweight rankings at this time. According to BoxRec, first of all, our top 5 positions are Jaime Munguia, Christian Mbili, Ulises Iglias, Diego Pacheco. Now, Alvarez has fought Jaime Munguia, beat him with a 12-round unanimous decision where he knocked him down in round 4. And the rest of the individuals on the top 5, according to BoxRec, Canelo has not fought. Now, Iglias, I believe, is unworthy of a unified title shot at this moment. He is only 12-0, and I think he's ranked a bit high on BoxRec. I think he should be ranked more like 10 or even 12. He just hasn't gained enough experience. We have not seen him in the ring with anyone in which he was tested, and so I don't think he's ready for a Canelo title fight, nor do I think at this moment Iglias is a worthy contender. Now, currently the mandatory for Canelo Alvarez is Christian Mbili. He has gained the WBC and WBA mandatory, and I believe, realistically, this is probably one of the most likely options which will happen from Canelo's next career move. Mbili has fought Sergey Dovichenko in his most notable win in a 10-round unanimous decision. The only problem I see with Mbili is that he's never actually gone 12 rounds. He's only gone 10. And until Mbili goes through a 12-round fight, I do not believe he's completely worthy for a super middleweight title shot against Canelo Alvarez. He is the mandatory, but I don't think Mbili will do very well, and I think Canelo will probably dismantle him similarly to that of Edgar Berlanga. Now, I think Mbili is better than Berlanga slightly. I think the domination by Canelo in that fight will most likely be similar to that of Berlanga, where it's more of a fight in which Canelo wins about 9 or 10 rounds out of 12. And possibly Canelo could KO Mbili in maybe the 10th or 11th round, but then Canelo is also known for slowing down in his fight, so I believe he'll get a pretty decisive unanimous decision over Mbili. I don't think Mbili is necessarily ready with a fight with Canelo. I believe we have to see him at least in 2 more fights, both of them being 12 rounds, and both of them being with worthy top 15 super middleweight contenders before he can really have a chance at the unified championship. The next notable name I would say is Caleb Plant. Now, Plant, I believe, is probably the best contender and most worthy contender besides Munguia. But I don't think Canelo should have a immediate rematch with Munguia at this moment. Plant might be more deserving of such, but I still think Plant has to have one more fight before he's ready for a Canelo bout. He just fought McGumbey. Now, McGumbey wasn't... I don't revere McGumbey as a high quality opponent. If Plant is able to fight a top 15 super middleweight contender and beat him decisively, I would say he needs another knockout. Then I would think that Plant would be deserving of a rematch with Canelo, considering Canelo's status at basically clearing out most of the super middleweight division and having the top 2 and top 3 guys, Morel and Benavidez, moving both up to light heavyweight. Out of the rest of the contenders at super middleweight, I don't think there's anyone that's necessarily notable. They're the likes of William Skull, Kevin Lele Sergio, Demetrius Andrade. I don't think Canelo will ever fight Demetrius Andrade. That is a fight that should not happen at all. Andrade is way past his prime, and I do not believe that fight would fit in any way with Canelo's financial goals either. William Skull also is an opponent I believe Canelo will most likely dismantle pretty well with his power. Skull, I believe, has not really been tested in such a way to which he can fight Canelo. He has been in 12-round fights. His most recent win is over Vladimir Shishkin, who's ranked 21 on BoxRec. But William Skull has absolutely no punching power. He does have power as a boxer, but Canelo will probably take a straight right hand from Skull, and his head probably won't even snap back, which is the point to which William Skull is an unworthy opponent for Canelo. I think Skull's nightmare matchup is in fact Canelo, and Canelo is most likely to completely outclass William Skull. If it's a unanimous decision, I believe Canelo will most likely knock down Skull 2 or 3 times during the fight. And I believe a fight with Canelo with Skull would mean that Skull's career is permanently affected, because I believe Canelo will inflict a beating on Skull to the extent which will have permanent damages to his career, at least at this time. So, in the super middleweight division, there really is not very notable people. Now, this is really a basis off of the fact that Canelo, as a fighter himself, is one that many fans, including myself, expect to fight at a caliber which is higher than a normal world championship level. I believe Canelo, when he defends his titles, should at least be fighting contenders that would beat certain lower level world champions, like weak champions, and fighters to the extent to which they would have the ability to become a world champion, such as Morel or Benavidez. Munguia has been world champion, thus I regard that win for Canelo as a crucial one. Munguia, I believe, was also Canelo's best defense of his undisputed titles. But most of the fighters at super middleweight currently, besides Plant and I would say Mimbili, would be worthy just in the slightest for a shot at Canelo's unified championship. There is also Diego Pacheco, who's young, but similarly to Iglias and Mimbili, I believe Pacheco has to have 2 more fights before he can challenge for the unified championship with Canelo. But Pacheco has shown some potential, and I believe if Canelo is to fight Mimbili next, or Plant next year, in 2026 we might see a fight with Pacheco, but I think that would be the best time for Pacheco to fight Canelo. He definitely has a potential, but currently Canelo would most likely dismantle him. But let's move to a different weight class. Let's move to a weight class where Canelo has only touched twice. This weight class is light heavyweight. Now, the 2 individuals that once were at middleweight with Canelo, who are now at light heavyweight, are David Morel and David Benavidez. And seemingly, Canelo didn't want to fight either Morel or Benavidez. Now, with Morel, I believe Morel wasn't as big of a draw for Canelo, and so Canelo didn't pick Morel as someone he should fight. And I don't really believe Morel was as worthy of an opponent as many individuals perceived him to be. Morel didn't have the experience, and even though Morel has great talent, power, and speed in his punches, that type of talent would only get a fighter so far, no matter how talented he is. And I understand Morel does definitely work hard, but with a 9-0-0 record, or a 10-0-0 record, which was his record around the time where he moved up to light heavyweight, I believe Canelo would have simply beaten him similar to how he beat Munguia. And Munguia had a great deal more experience than Morel. And although I believe Morel might be slightly more talented than Munguia, I believe Canelo could most likely beat Morel. Now, at light heavyweight, fighting Morel actually has less purpose than having a defense at super middleweight, so I believe Morel is completely ruled out, at least at this time in these circumstances. This is further considered by the fact that Morel and Benavidez are, I believe, rumored to have a fight in February. Now, BoxRec does not indicate that they are having a fight, but I believe they are slated to have a fight by that point. Now, With the other contenders at light heavyweight, there is not really anyone Canelo should face, besides maybe Beterbiev or Bivol. With Bivol, I believe he could probably have a comeback fight against Canelo, if Canelo really wanted to move up to light heavyweight. But that would in some ways be odd, because having a comeback fight against someone like Canelo, and having Canelo, that being that Canelo is such a high draw, a fight with Bivol may not happen. I think Bivol might try to fight some other top 10 light heavyweight contender, maybe Joshua Buatsi. And I actually don't see Canelo fighting Dmitry Bivol. And that leaves us with our final option, which is Artur Beterbiev. Now, Beterbiev holds all 4 titles, and recently the IBF has given Beterbiev a mandatory, ordered a mandatory for Beterbiev. And I believe if Canelo does attempt to fight for even just the unified light heavyweight championship without the IBF belt, in the event that Beterbiev does not want to follow through on a IBF mandatory, I believe a Canelo-Beterbiev fight could be the best route for Canelo. Now, people believe that Canelo might be completely destroyed by Beterbiev. I wouldn't completely say that Beterbiev would completely dismantle Canelo. His style is different from Bivol's. I think Bivol's style was more of a nightmare for Canelo. But Beterbiev does throw a lot of punches. And really, in that regard, I actually think Canelo will benefit because Canelo is a great counterpuncher. Beterbiev has been dropped by punchers who are less powerful than Canelo. Now, this is not Canelo's natural weight class, but Canelo does have an excellent chin, no matter what weight class he's at. And I believe I actually would give Canelo a slight chance against Beterbiev. Would I think Canelo is the underdog? Yes. But do I think Canelo has a chance of beating Beterbiev? Most definitely. Canelo has certain attributes that would work well against Beterbiev's high volume of punching, as shown by the Munguia fight. I think Canelo still has the capability to train for something to the caliber of Beterbiev. Now, it seems like Canelo is taking fights which are more reward over risk, but if Canelo really wanted to have one final hurrah and cement his legacy, a fight with Beterbiev at this point in time, based on the circumstances which have played out, would be an interesting option. But let me know what you think. A Beterbiev fight is called for, but there's a lot of other defenses at super middleweight that could still take place, such as Christian Mbili, which I think is the most worthy contender for Canelo's unified championship. But let me know. And this is Zachary Cloutier at Ringside.